Right, man. Look, the war is still on. The war is on. G. Bush responded today. Okay, now we all know G. Bush put out these tweets about how the local media has been.
What happens when a single, highly respected analyst completely exposes the absolute hypocrisy of an entire local sports media ecosystem on live television? We are currently witnessing an absolute civil war unfolding within the Cleveland press corps. For months, the establishment media, led by voices like Anthony Lima and the anybody but Shedeur Mafia, has desperately tried to convince the public that Shedeur Sanders is nothing more than an irrelevant
and over 2,500 likes. We're going to read these tweets and then kind of dive into them. G tweeted out, in order,
low upside backup quarterback. But veteran analyst G. Bush just stepped up to the microphone on the ultimate Cleveland sports show and dropped an absolute nuclear truth bomb, completely destroying their carefully manufactured narrative and exposing exactly how they are exploiting the young superstar for ratings.
Fans and media are talking about Shedeur Sanders. That's unfair. It's unfair to blame him for that. If you're going to talk about him a lot, you then can't blame him if Deshaun Watson doesn't play well. I don't think anybody's going to do that.
You are locked into GNFL 1 Talks, the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups, positional battles, and locker room dynamics shaping the league. Make sure you absolutely smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's dive directly into the highly explosive reality of the Cleveland media civil war.
Then why does he lead every single topic in conversation? Watson is a starter. Get in your analyst bag and start talking about what needs to do week 1 against the Jags, #Browns. Next, Shedeur is good for business. I do Shedeur content because I think he can be the long-term answer. Others use his name for engagement. If he's just a backup quarterback with a
To truly comprehend the sheer, mind-numbing hypocrisy of the establishment media, you first have to look directly at the incredibly viral Twitter thread unleashed by G. Bush. Bush aggressively called out the massive, glaring contradiction currently defining Cleveland sports talk radio. He explicitly stated that if
Shedeur Sanders said, let's do an interview today, I would actually say, I don't even know if that's a good idea. You know why? Because it's a situation where
reporters like Anthony Lima genuinely believe Shedeur Sanders is just a fifth-round draft pick with absolutely zero upside, who definitively lost the starting job. Then why does he completely dominate their daily conversation? Why are they dedicating hours of primetime radio to a player they claim doesn't matter? Bush delivered a brutal, undeniable reality check. The local media actively uses Shedeur Sanders' name for engagement, clicks, and ratings because he is incredibly good for business. If they actually stopped talking about him, they would have to fill 3 hours of airtime talking about high
Of doing things for clicks, and some people do things for clicks. That's true. Not everybody, but some people do. I don't agree with your general premise that we can't. Well, you should.
school football, and they know their ratings would completely plummet. But Bush didn't stop there. He went on live television and completely dismantled the establishment media's favorite, highly toxic excuse, the distraction narrative. For the entire offseason, reporters have constantly claimed that Sanders' massive fame and dedicated fan base place an undue burden on the starting quarterback. Bush aggressively pointed out that Sanders hasn't said a single controversial word. He is quietly sitting in meetings and preparing to be a professional backup. The absolute only reason he is a distraction is because the media actively creates the circus. They are the ones sprinting to his locker on Wednesdays, desperately shoving microphones in his face, and begging for controversial sound bites about the coaching staff or the ownership. The media actively manufactures the distraction and then turns around and blames the rookie for being too famous. It is pure, unadulterated exploitation. This incredibly toxic media cycle is exactly why G. Bush laid down a massive, undeniable ultimatum for the rest of the press corps. The Browns front office has officially named Deshaun Watson the Week 1 starter. Bush
life and that's human nature. So from my perspective, the way I come at it is, look, Shedeur Sanders is a guy who's a young player. I happen to believe that he can be a franchise quarterback. Maybe other people don't. But the thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to turn this conversation into just because they chose Deshaun Watson, now Shedeur Sanders
aggressively demanded that the media now leave Shedeur Sanders completely alone. He explicitly told the reporters to get into their analysis bags and start breaking down Deshaun Watson's actual game tape. Evaluate his mechanics, evaluate his reads, and evaluate his performance entirely on his own merits. If Watson struggles against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the media absolutely cannot run to Sanders' locker and ask him how he feels about the offense. Watson demanded the starting job. He demanded the massive contract. And now he has to completely sink or swim without.
Then why are we talking about him? Usually, generally speaking, we say we want our backup quarterbacks to be seen, not heard, and we want to talk about the people that are on the field, and the backup should not be a distraction. So my thought process is, Todd Monken said it when he talked to him, and he said, oh, he had a smile on his face.
Media using the rookie as a massive protective shield. And this demand is incredibly necessary because the true football minds know exactly what the establishment media is planning to do. Bush explicitly reminded the audience of the exact same, highly toxic playbook the media ran last season.
More vernacular until he becomes QB1.
Well, this is a thought experiment. So it's the circular argument that we continue to have. The circular argument is Shedeur Sanders isn't very good, and Shedeur Sanders is not worth the pressure that he brings to your organization because people in his fan base are going to talk about him constantly. So I was just taking what you guys and most people say and
with Dylan Gabriel. When Gabriel completely collapsed on the field and proved he was incapable of running the offense, the media immediately started blaming the specter of Shedeur Sanders, claiming the pressure of the famous backup was simply too much for Gabriel to handle. Bush is actively cutting off that excuse before the regular.
Okay, well, man, you got Dylan in a tough position. You got one of the most famous people in the world behind him. And when you think about it, Shedeur wasn't saying anything. He wasn't coming out talking about nothing. He didn't have any statements. So what I'm saying to you is, if we can learn from
our season even starts, he is serving notice that if Deshaun Watson fails, it is entirely because he is playing bad football, not because the fans are cheering for the backup quarterback. The absolute most revealing, highly satisfying moment of the entire Ultimate Cleveland Sports show broadcast occurred when the other hosts were completely forced to admit that Bush was entirely correct. Despite desperately trying to defend their industry, the panel openly confessed that Sanders is undeniably good for business. They admitted that if Sanders offered an exclusive interview today, every single
92.3 The Fan and took more shots. G. Bush was on UCSS today, and he addressed it and responded to everything. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Share the channel, hit the bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. We got to get into this, man. Look, the war in the local Cleveland media is on. I'm riding with G. Bush. I'm just letting y'all know. I'm riding with the barbershop. I'm riding with G. Bush. The anybody but Shedeur Mafia
reporter in the city, even the ones who actively hate his play style, would absolutely trample each other to secure the microphone. They know he drives the entire conversation. They know he pays their bills. And they know they are completely addicted to the engagement his name brings. We are officially standing at an absolute, undeniable precipice regarding the immediate future of this incredibly talented football team. G. Bush just completely stripped away the media's safety net. Deshaun Watson is walking into week one completely alone. The establishment press corps can no longer use the distraction narrative, and they can no longer blame the fans for wanting to see the most dynamic.
And then we go and talk to that person, and we seek that person out to say, we want to have, if Shedeur Sanders today said, I'm going to give somebody a one-on-one interview, right?
Yeah.
Playmaker on the roster. The practice field illusions are completely over, and the real bullets are about to start flying. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you genuinely believe the local media will be able to go a single week without mentioning Shedeur Sanders? And exactly how many quarters of bad football will it take before they actively demand he takes over the offense? Drop your absolute best, most aggressive takes below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep your notifications on. And I will see you all in the very next deep dive.